Hey everybody, I'm Tim here with Aaron Michaelis from Flint Knoll Wines, and today we're studying refinement of flavor. You're watching Cigars Daily. Of course, you can get more out of this when you join the community on Cigars Daily Plus, but today I want to bring you inside a conversation I have been anticipating for a long time with none other than Aaron Michaelis of Flint Knoll. Aaron, thank you for being with me today, brother.
Tim, thank you. This is an honor. This is exciting. I can't wait to have a show with you and go over some back and forth talking cigars and some wine.
Yes, dude, you've got such an amazing story, and I want to take people inside of this, but also inside the Macanudo Flint Knoll. I got to be honest with you up front. I saw this cigar come out, and my immediate thought, not being very familiar with Flint Knoll or with a lot of wines in general, although I enjoy wine, I was like, what caused Macanudo to do a wine like barrel aged in, Cabernet Sauvignon wine barrels? What was this all about? I've learned so much about it, but I still have so many questions. But today we have lit up the Macanudo Flint Knoll. There's a release number 1, a release number 2, and I want to dive into this with you. But I have some questions up front because it's not every day that I get a wine specialist with me. And so now that I have you here, one thing I've never known is when I pour a glass of wine, what's the appropriate, like how much do I pour before people think something's wrong with me? How much are you supposed to pour into a wine?
So depending on, pour about, keep going.
Okay. All right.
About perfect right there.
That's perfect. That's good. That doesn't feel like very much. As somebody who fills my bourbon glass to the brim, but this is about the appropriate amount of wine, just sort of where it hits.
Absolutely. Kind of where you want the glass, just like a good cutter, just like a good lighter. You want the glass to be useful and to do what its job is meant to be. And if you fill it all the way to the top, we call that the country club pour, because you are being incredibly generous. And usually people, if you pour them this, they're like, how come you're not pouring me very much? But what you really want to do is you're utilizing the glass to open up the wine, to get the wine to have to it so it can breathe and open it up. Just like when you're adding a little bit of water or a little bit of ice to your bourbon or your whiskey, what does it do? It opens it up.
At what point am I supposed to throw this glass against the wall? I've seen a lot of wine stuff in videos. I think when do I spit the wine out and you toss the glass, or is that's like only for rich people?
I mean, that's pretty aggressive. There's some ceremonies that you can drink the wine and then break the glass. There's in the Jewish culture and in the Greek culture, you can do that. But these, you really, when you invest in a nice glass like that, is taking care of it, and it's for enjoying a really beautiful bottle of wine, and it puts it in the right. I always kind of explain it to people when they're in the tasting room. It's imagine getting a beautiful tomahawk steak and going through the process of grilling it and searing it, and it's perfect, and the fats are kind of rendering, and you char the outside, and then all of a sudden I serve it to you and I give you a plastic fork. Hey, I could do like, what about a really nice fork and a knife on a beautiful plate, and then we can enjoy that beautiful cut of beef. So same thing, when you open a wine, you want the right utensils to enjoy it correctly.
The thing that stands to me as an outlier for you, Aaron, and this is totally wild, is that you are a huge cigar guy, and cigars were a passion for you even before wine was, even before your career in wine. Take us through this. Give us the Polaroid snapshot of what got you into, how cigars sort of brought you into the wine world, and what that looked like.
My first cigar was a Victor Sinclair. And I still kept smoking. But I had started, learning, and it was all.
I smoked lots of Victor Sinclairs early on as well. I got an original cigar journal. It's got plenty of Victor Sinclairs in there. But so when did this progress for you into the passion of cigars, where you were finding out about some of the cigars you mentioned, Punch and the Hoya de Monterreys?
I was going to the local bookstore and getting like Cigar Aficionados. I think my mom was probably concerned that a young man, because my dad doesn't smoke cigars, and was like, why are we getting, Broad Report, and why are we getting Cigar Aficionado when you're 18 years old and you're reading about these things? And when I started working at the cigar shop, it was so much fun to go in and try all these different cigars. And it was something that I loved. And I would be riding the mower or be working on the ranch and be smoking cigars while sitting there and mowing 50 acres worth of fields, and then, doing all the lawn care and all that stuff. And I was always by myself. So I was just sitting out there smoking cigars and learned so much. And so when I was going through college, my fun job was working at the cigar shop. And being a human, I always wanted what I could not have, And when you're in the cigar shop, you're looking over and you're seeing all of these little different wine bottles and stuff that you can't have. But in the store, on top of all of the wines, had different regions of the world. So Italy, France, the United States, Spain, Australia, all these different regions. And I'm sitting there going, man, all these people are farming beautiful grapes in all of these exotic places. No knock to where I grew up. Wichita is not an exotic place on planet Earth. It is flat, windy, extreme weather, and creates hardy people that work and deal with all of these environments. And then I caught the bug.
Okay. So clearly these two worlds overlap quite a bit. Now, for you, you're deeply steeped into both of them. Obviously, wine is a mainstay for you with your role with Flint Knoll. And by the way, this wine is outstanding. Even though you say it's a younger wine, like definitely a very nice, refined wine. For me, a little drier than it is sweeter, but definitely comes across with a brilliant, brilliant flavor, a nice fruitiness to this. Now, I want to come up here and talk about Flint Knoll, the Macanudo Flint Knoll. You've done 2 releases of this cigar. Take me inside of creating not just another cigar, a specifically Macanudo barrel aged in French oak barrels that you've used for the Cab Sauv with Flint Knoll. I mean, what a special project. Like, and you see this come up, these barrel aging projects, they seem to be as much about the cigar, as much about the tobacco, which all blends are about the tobacco, as they are about the barrels, because those barrels are very special. So take us inside this project, because it's such a cool project.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I think one of the things is starting with the best products and then putting them on a pedestal to shine. And putting it together, a wine, is very complex and is all about the vineyard, the location of where growing the fruit is, and then using the oak barrels to soften and create a beautiful wine on your palate. Okay. And the same thing is what's happening when they're producing these cigars. These cigars, when we're just smoking them and lighting them, we're forgetting about the fillers, the binder, and then the wrapper, and this beautiful symphony that's happening, that's going on in your palate. In the Bordeaux region, we have 5 varietals: Cab, Cab Franc, Merlot, Malbec, and Petit Verdot. All those varietals are grown to hit your palate to balance and create this beautiful wine. So the same thing for the Macanudo Flint Knoll is we're taking this incredible wrapper, an Ecuadorian Connecticut, okay? And then we're taking an American broadleaf, which is becoming more and more difficult to get, but it has this structure and this kind of, it is the tenderloin of the tobacco. It's rich, it's textured, but it's not going to be like the biggest, boldest, but it's going to give you these beautiful nuances. And we're using a Mata Fina from Brazil and a Jalapa, a Polito Color, and I think there's one other that we get from the Dominican Republic, but we're using all of those to fill in that palette. But what if we took that binder and put it in these French oak barrels that had made our Napa Cab, this royal appointment that we're drinking, and then let them sit there and age and bring on the nuances of the wine and the French oak, and now adding another layer of complexity and quality to this tobacco that was really there for a little bit of flavor, but really for combustion and for texture.
I love that when you say that. It's not going to hit you. It's just there. And it is Like for me, I get on the retrohale, especially a little bit of that oak comes out, especially when I'm pairing the wine with the cigar. This is a cool experience. So before we've sat down here together, I have not had the Flint Knoll wine. I just opened up the bottle and let it breathe a little bit before we sat down. But now pairing the two together, the end of the retrohale gives me some of that oak, but everything else that you mentioned, that sweetness, that little bit of vanilla, all very attainable, all very accessible, and like I'm just kind of there through the experience. Very nuanced, very, very nice, man. This is great. How long did the blending process take for you on the Macanudo Flint Knoll, and what was that like?
It was a beautiful symphony. I'm very blessed. I mean, how does a little boutique, high-end wine brand that only really collectors know of, that this big, huge monster of premium tobacco in the world goes, hey, we want to invest in you and work with you and let you be a part of it. I'm like, okay, God, you are great. This is amazing. Chris Tarr, thank you. And they have been the most supportive. So, cigar nerd working with this huge brand called Macanudo. It's kind of funny. Some people are like, well, are you really a cigar nerd because Macanudo is so big? And I'm like, I get it, but we're bringing Macanudo back. This is a classic. It has been around for a long time because they have produced consistency and beautiful cigars. And sometimes as humans, just like old school wine brands, we forget about how good they are because they've done it so well. But to work with these incredible people that have a lot of resources that as the little guy, I don't have, okay? To be able to be in their world and they go, hey, what do you want? Because we'll get it for you.
You've got access, man. You got the keys to the kingdom. Well, I want to tell everybody who is watching this video, if you're looking for a refined experience that has a lot of nuance to it, a lot of subtlety, but plenty going on, attainable flavors with complexity, that's what Macanudo Flint Knoll is all about. Now putting it together with the Flint Knoll wine, like this cab is really nice and absolutely brings out a lot in this cigar. So if you're looking for a good pairing, especially as we're headed into the holiday season and New Year and 2024, there's so much to grab onto here. And Aaron, you and I are about to have another conversation about the barrel aging process. So I want to tell everybody, stay tuned for that video because that will be forthcoming. But this year, I assume you're going to be smoking some of these, or what are you smoking on New Year's? You're going to be smoking a Macanudo and Flint Knoll?
Yes, and probably 3 other different cigars. Yeah,
that's right. That's what a real cigar smoker says right there, man. That's the answer right there.
And I want to encourage people, we're using a really beautiful, we don't make a ton of wine. We make 320 cases of this wine. So it's not necessarily for everybody, though the cigar pairs great with wine, and especially with this cab, because this is, a part of its personality. But this cigar was built to age with coffee, was built to add the nuance to the cigar to give another layer. So this is great with a bourbon or a beer or, all of those different things that you can enjoy that you prefer. If you're not a wine person, I get it. But this cigar gets a different personality because of the wine that we produce and the French oak barrels that we use to age it. So don't think that you have to have this incredible cigar with just a glass of wine. It's great by itself. It's incredible with whatever refreshment that you enjoy. We're just adding another personality and a complexity to this cigar by using what we did to produce our wines.
There are a lot of expressions of pairings out there, and Aaron is absolutely right. This one is going to go great with tons of them. I want to thank you so much, man, for joining me for this. And for everyone watching at home, do join the community on Cigars Daily Plus. Get even more out of this video. Aaron, thank you again, brother.
Thank you, Tim.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for watching. This is Tim and Aaron. We are both signing off for Cigars Daily, and I'll see you in the comments.
Happy New Year.